What is a Buddhist style chicken? I'll tell you, my father-in-law, Judy's father, used to order a chicken for the weekend, and the guy would say, oh, you want head on it? And then he'd go to the back counter and he'd be like, one Chinese chicken. Hi everybody, it's Bill from the Walks of Life, and today we're gonna show you how to make an iconic Cantonese dish, soy sauce chicken, or as we call it, See Yao Gai. What is a soy sauce chicken? When you walk into Chinatown and you see those barbecued meats hanging from the window in these restaurants, that's where you get your See Yao Gai or soy sauce chicken. You can even go to the Chinatown restaurants that serve banquet meals or serve just restaurant food, and you can order it off the menu as See Yao Gai, and they're happy to serve it to you. But if you want to make it at home, I'm going to show you today how to make the soy sauce chicken, and believe me, you're going to love it because it's packed with flavor. Now this recipe for soy sauce chicken has been on the blog for a while, and we've gotten a lot of comments and a lot of questions. Why is my chicken splotchy? What do I do with the master sauce after it's left over? Can I use chicken parts instead of a whole supermarket chicken? We're gonna address all those questions and more. So today we're using a Buddhist style chicken, but we also use the supermarket chicken, and we're gonna include that footage as well so you can see what it's like. These Buddhist style chickens are heritage breed chickens, so they're very different. Instead of 45 days for growth, they're usually 2 to 3 times more. The skin is a little bit thicker, and it affects how the chicken absorbs the soy sauce and how uniform it is. The meat tastes better, it's firmer, but still very silky. Usually these Buddhist style chickens are not carried in supermarkets. They're in Chinese grocery stores. They're about the same price as organic chicken, but I think less. So this chicken is about 4 pounds and it costs about 16 bucks. If you go into a supermarket and you buy an organic chicken, it's gonna be like 18, 20 bucks. But I tell you, this heritage breed, it's just superior. The breeds of chicken used in the supermarket chicken are quite different from the heritage breeds that are used for these Buddhist style chickens. We met the owners of Bobo Poultry. She explained it all. She says, hey, it's all about the heritage breed. We take 2 to 3 times more time to raise these chickens than your average 45-day chicken in the grocery store, and that makes a huge difference. Soy sauce chicken, or See Yao Gai, is actually quite easy to make. You've got scallion. If you don't have it, you can also use shallot, some fresh ginger, star anise, sugar to balance the soy sauce, light and dark soy sauce, a little bit of salt, a little bit of oil to sort of caramelize the aromatics at the beginning, and then the wine. So we call for rose wine. Rose wine you could find at any well-stocked Chinese grocery store. If you can't find it, ask somebody. You can always substitute with Shaoxing wine. Sometimes I use a little bit of both. And last, but certainly not least, we have our chicken. So now I'm going to show you how to wash the chicken. First thing you do is you sort of pluck anything obvious out. Here, there's a little bit of extra fat in here. Oh, okay, here there's usually a giblet package. Any chicken that you get, you're gonna have these kidney pieces. That's what they look like. And then you gotta reach in and see if there's any of the lungs or anything left in there. Straighten out. So you got all kinds of stuff in there.
This is the difference between a good chicken meal and one where you bite down on a who knows what.
So probably the #1 question I get is, my chicken comes out splotchy. Your chicken comes out nice and uniform. What's up with that? The first answer to that question is that if you use this Buddhist chicken, the skin is actually a little bit thicker and it just takes the soy sauce color more uniformly. There's 2 layers of skin. There's the dermis layer, which is what we all know as the chicken skin that we eat. And then there's the epidermis layer, which is the layer above that, just below the feathers. Now that layer has a natural waxy coating on it, and it's not always removed completely. And that's what's causing the prevention of the absorption of the soy sauce and color. So not only you're not getting the color, you're not getting all that flavor. So how do we remedy that? Take some salt, and this is sacrificial salt. You're not gonna reuse the salt or anything like that. We're gonna spread it around all over, and we're just gonna give it a good rub. You're using the salt a little bit as an abrasive for cleaner. You're flavoring it as well, yeah, but most importantly, you gotta get it in the nooks and crannies, like in between the wings or below the drumstick, and the spots that are a little bit less accessible, if you will, by the cleaner when they process it. As you can see, a week ago, when we made the grocery store chicken, you could see little bits of yellow. You've got this hard skin over here, and you're gonna rub that off with the salt, and you can see how everything's coming off. Now we're gonna rinse everything off. And while I'm here, I'm gonna cut these appendages off. So how do you cut actually? You cut this at the joint. Now you don't wanna cut the skin too close to this joint because then the skin is gonna shrink and you're gonna see the bone exposed. So what you actually wanna do is you wanna cut it well in front, like that, cut around the skin, and then you can bend it back, just like that, and find the joint, cut that where the cartilage is, and then the head, we're just gonna cut right at the neck. Give it one little last rinse, make sure I drain the water out, and I tuck these wings back like this. Then it sort of sits really nicely. And here you go. And these parts go to barley. Let's start making our master sauce by cutting some ginger. Cut about 1/8 of an inch pieces, about 7 slices. We call for 2 scallions. I got these giant scallions from the garden. Probably just cut one of these. What we're gonna do is go over to the stove. You want a decent sized pot here that is gonna fit the chicken, but is not too big. The bigger and wider your pot is, the more sauce you're gonna need, and your chicken's not gonna be submerged. We're gonna caramelize this in the pot, then we're gonna measure out our regular soy sauce, our dark soy sauce, which is what gives soy sauce chicken its richness and color. We updated this recipe, and we used quite a bit of dark soy sauce before versus now. I think before we used a 1.25 cups dark soy sauce, which yielded a much darker soy sauce chicken. We reduced that actually to half, but you do have to have dark soy sauce. We've got 2 different kinds of wine. We've got a Shaoxing wine and a little bit of rose wine, which gives its flavor. You actually can't taste the rose wine. It's something in the background that's really pleasant. It adds depth. Now, if you can't find the rose wine, it's not a huge deal. Just use your Shaoxing wine or clear rice wine. Sugar, it's quite a bit of sugar. Don't be alarmed. The sauce, the master sauce, really needs it, and it really needs to absorb into the chicken to get a nice flavor. We've got some salt, less salt because there's already a lot of salt in the soy sauce, and we've got star anise, which is a main flavoring element for the master sauce. So let's go to the stove. Okay, we've got our setup here, and what we're gonna do first is gonna pour a little bit of oil, caramelize the ginger, and the scallions.
They're big.
They're nice. Got it going for about 30 seconds. And then we're gonna get star anise. You want 3 healthy star anises. I put 4 in here because some of these were a little bit anemic. I'm gonna use a mixture of rose wine and Shaoxing wine. It's about 3/4. 3/4 Shaoxing wine. And at this point, I'm gonna turn up the heat. So we're gonna have a lot of liquid here. Stir that around a little. 1 3/4 cup sugar. It's about a cup. You might be thinking, holy cow, that's a lot of sugar. Just think about when we made our ribs and we put a lot of sugar in there. That's not quite 3/4 cups, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. All gonna turn into flavor. And we're gonna add 4 tablespoons of salt. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3. That's a little shy. That's the salt that was left over from the chicken rub. I'm gonna give everything a stir here. And hey, for those of you, a tip, when you use a lot of soy sauce, we buy these small bottles and we refill them with this big bottle. It's much more economical. So this is regular soy sauce, superior light soy sauce. And we're gonna add 2 cups of soy sauce, 1/2 cup of dark soy sauce. There's 12 cups of water. All right, and that is our master sauce. Now what we're gonna do is let this come up to a boil, let it simmer for about 20 minutes to let all the flavors meld together before we add our chicken. So how do you reuse this master sauce? I mean, you do have like 12 cups of liquid here. So you gotta freeze it, right? If you keep it in the fridge, chicken has been cooking in it and it's not gonna last that long. You can use it one time to cook a chicken, and then you could probably use it again without anything added. But each time you use that master sauce or the lu sui, each time it gets better, more flavorful. Now eventually, the flavor will run out, so you're gonna have to replenish that with a little bit of salt, a little soy sauce, and maybe aromatics. So behind the scenes, Caitlin has been saying, hey, you gotta tell the people, how do you replenish the sauce? How much exactly you put in?
Just give a rule of thumb of like, you can use it.
And I'm like, I can't tell you. It's not an exact science. There is no rule of thumb. There's no exact formula to it. That's why they call it the master sauce. No, actually they're called the master sauces because after you have this sauce, you can actually, on the stove, use part of that for your stir fries. Lo mein noodles, if you like. You could use that part of that for your beef chow fun, for example. That's why it's a master sauce, because it's kind of versatile. What I'll do is I'll definitely add some more wine, some Shaoxing wine, rose wine, and I'll add a little bit more salt and a little bit more regular soy sauce. Usually the darkness is okay, but if you like it more darker, your chicken darker, you add a little bit more dark soy sauce.
And that's that.
That's that. All right, it's been about 20 minutes now. The star anise, the ginger, the scallion has had a chance to release its flavors into the liquid, and we're ready to put in the chicken. And we're gonna slowly place it in, make sure it's submerged. And what we do right away, actually, is lift it back up. And what this does is the liquid that gets inside the chicken is cooled, and we just wanna give another warm liquid chance to enter in the cavity. You'll see that we don't have a completely submerged chicken. And what we can do at this point is use the spoon to baste it a bit. I'm going to turn up the heat to bring the chicken back up to a boil, which will take about 5 minutes. And we don't actually want this boiling. We want it to just simmer. So once it's just simmering, you want to turn it down. We're going to let it cook for 25 minutes. But since this chicken is not fully submerged, we're going to baste it every 5 minutes and check the boiling temperature. At some point, halfway through, we're going to turn it over. After that initial 25 minutes of simmering, we're going to shut off the heat and let it sit for another 25 minutes in the liquid, and everything will be nice and absorbed in it. We'll turn it back over probably at some point, and we'll baste it every 5-10 minutes. After that, it'll be in for a full 60 minutes, and your chicken will be ready. All right, it's been about 4 or 5 minutes. I detect this thing is starting to boil, and it is. I'm gonna lower the heat, and an opportunity, since I have the cover off, I'm gonna give it a little baste. And the reason why it's important to cook it breast up is because the breast meat cooks faster. Now I'm gonna set the timer for 10 minutes, and I'm going to turn the chicken over for another 5 or 10 minutes, and then turn it back over, and then we're gonna turn off the heat. So the next question that we get a lot is, do I have to use a whole chicken? And the answer is no. Normally, for the Lunar New Year, we use a chicken with the head on and the feet on, and that's traditional. But any other time, like any old weekday, yeah, sure, you could use the chicken leg quarters, you could use drumsticks, you could use wings, no problem. The dark meat is a little bit moister and it's closer to the texture of what you get in the Buddhist chicken. If you prefer chicken breast, you could also use a split chicken breast as well. Now, the cooking times are gonna be much faster. You got a smaller piece of chicken and you've got more surface area around it for cooking. So a split chicken breast is probably gonna take you like 20-25 minutes. So while the chicken's cooking, we're gonna make some cooked ginger scallion oil. Because at the Chinese barbecue place, when you order a chicken, whether it's a white cut chicken or a soy sauce chicken, you get some cooked ginger scallion oil. They also include like a sweet dark soy as well, but what I like to do is I just like to take some of the master sauce out and use that as a sauce to drizzle on top after you're cutting or when you're serving it. If you haven't picked up a copy of our cookbook already, we actually have recipes for the raw ginger scallion oil, and we also have a recipe for the cooked ginger scallion oil, which is usually what you'll get in Chinatown. So the flavors of this cooked ginger scallion oil is not ginger and scallion. They add a little bit of a sand ginger in it. They add a little tiny touch of fish sauce, and it has a really nice flavor instead of the usual fresh raw oil and raw ginger scallion that we usually use with the white cut chicken. We're gonna add 7 tablespoons of a neutral oil. Now you may think that's a lot of oil, but we've actually got a half a cup of chopped ginger and a half a cup of scallions. It's about 3 healthy sized scallions. This oil is just about ready because I see the oil moving around. It's starting to get that little bit of shimmer. So I'm gonna put all the scallions in here at once. You get a nice little simmer in there. So now all of these scallions are coated in the oil, and we're gonna add the ginger. You see now all that oil is absorbed, and we're just gonna continue cooking here. I'm gonna give it a little shake to even things out. Now we're gonna add an 1/8 teaspoon of sand ginger, or basically a healthy pinch. Also the same of fish sauce. This fish sauce is pretty powerful, so you really only wanna add a little tiny bit. Just gonna give this a little stir. The heat is a little high, I'm gonna turn it down. And at this point, I'm just gonna turn off the flame. And now I'm gonna mix in 3/4 teaspoons of salt. And stir all these together. and we're gonna serve it with our chicken. This is what you get Chinese barbecue restaurant when you get those little tablespoon-sized containers of sauce.
You know, sometimes those guys, they don't like it when you ask for extra sauce.
No, because they have limited. That's a lot of sauce. You'd probably have to buy like 20 chickens to get that sauce. All right, we're about at the 12-minute mark. That means halfway the 25 minutes cooking. And this is actually perfect. You can see the water is moving a little bit of bubble every so often. You don't want the boil, you want this. But look at this top here, a little dry. We've been basting it. You see this? You see the difference in the color? So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna give it a quick flip. All right, look at that beautiful golden color. Now, make sure the air is out of there. And now we're gonna put it back in. So now it's turned over. We're gonna cook it for another 12 minutes. Okay, now it's been a full 25 minutes at this simmer. Let's check this. You kind of want to get a little bit of a grip on it so that when you twist it, it's good. And look at that. That makes a big difference there. You get a nice color on the chicken and the color is just perfect. And what I'm going to do is cover it now, shut the flame off, and let the residual heat cook it for another 25 minutes. And then we're going to check it after about 10 minutes. So it's been 10 minutes. The chicken looks good. I'm just going to give it a little bit of baste. I was thinking I was going to turn it over, but the color looks great. So I'm just going to leave it. Now I know there's a lot of Chinese whole chicken dishes out there, so it can be confusing. So here's a quick rundown and guide that you can refer to before your next trip to Chinatown. Now you're walking down Chinatown, you walk by a Chinese barbecue restaurant and you see things hanging in the window. You might see this golden brown glistening chicken. Now that's a soy sauce chicken. You also see the ducks. You also see this chicken that's wrapped in paper that has a little bit of scallion and ginger on it. That's a scallion oil chicken. You also see a completely white chicken that looks like a poached chicken. Well, that's exactly what it is. Baijiaji poached chicken. Now, in the restaurants, when you sit down, if you're lucky enough to go to a wedding banquet or a birthday banquet where they serve a banquet-style meal, there's almost always a crispy skinned chicken on the table. And that is a beautiful golden brown. The skin is crispy. Get a few like Pringles chips or shrimp chips on there with a wedge of lemon on there, some 5-spice salt on the side. Now that's a different chicken, it's deep fried. Another variation of that is the crispy garlic chicken. Now that's also deep fried, except that they pour over a sauce with garlic and soy sauce and other flavorings in it, and that's also delicious. Another one you'll see is a salt-baked chicken. It's not as common in these Chinese barbecue restaurants, but sometimes you'll see it. Now, Judy has a traditional salt-baked chicken that she actually cooks in hot salt. So be sure to check that recipe out. All right, our chicken is done, and I just moved the pot over here. It's been 60 minutes. Now, I know that this chicken is done because I've done it so many times. But if you're unsure, use a thermos, stick it in the thick part of the chicken. You can stick it in a couple places. It's gotta be around 165 degrees for it to be done. But I'm gonna take this chicken out now. Okay, you lift this guy out. And I'm just gonna let the master sauce drip off as possible and transfer it to a plate. Now here's another indication of doneness as well. This is actually maybe even a little bit overdone, where the chicken contracts and you see the bone. But no worries, it's still good. All right, so our chicken has rested, and I'm gonna put this out on the cutting board right now. And usually what we do is we cut this chicken in half, right down the breast side. I'm gonna cut it on one side of the backbone. Okay, and put this half chicken right here and deal with one half. Look at that, oh, that's beautiful. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut off this wing. The chicken is perfectly cooked. And then cut off this thigh here. Okay, and we got some star anise floating. I might actually put that back in the pot. I'm gonna cut a little bit of breast and a little bit of dark meat. Okay, a little bit of breast meat here. Drumstick there. So now we're ready to try our chicken. All right, so we're here for the taste test, and I'll tell you, the house smells wonderful, and this chicken looks and smells delicious. And what I like to do is I take a little bit of the master sauce directly out of the pot, and I use that as a sauce, and I just drizzle it on. Now, if you're Caitlin, and this is her recipe, she likes to put this cooked ginger scallion, and this is exactly what the Chinatown barbecue restaurants provide you in a little tiny little thing. Now, you got a whole bowl of this because I'm just gonna put it on the side here because it's really good on the rice as well, and with the chicken. I'm gonna just dip this drumstick into the sauce. Oh yeah. It's so good. So fragrant, perfectly cooked. There's no red in this at all. A lot of Chinese barbecue restaurants, they have a little red in the bone, which generally is harmless, but that freaks out a lot of people. So when you cook it at home, you can cook it just like this. No red at all. It's delicious, folks. I'll put a little ginger scallion. There's some merit to that. It's really good, actually. Very good. So now that we've given you all our secrets to making the best soy sauce chicken, we hope you try this at home. And if you enjoyed this video, give us a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and visit us on thewalksoflife.com for more of your favorite recipes.
Father ate no rice with his soy sauce chicken, and that's because he has to have blood work. But here we've got somebody who's willing to have a bite of rice. More than willing, you might say.
Audience like, I'm willing.
She's cracking the perfect bite. Well,
Perfect bite. This is a very special homemade meal.
it's kind of similar lift as a roast chicken.
And for the Chinese, bak chie gai, between bak chie gai, which is white cut chicken, and the soy sauce chicken, they all have their merits. Cantonese, they know their chicken.
This is the end of season scallion.
End of season scallion.
I think it's perfect for
You know
this
where we grew this
application.
out of? We took a little scallion, cut off 1 inch of it, and then we stick them all into the ground, and then we can't eat them all the time. We have so many of them, and then this is what you get after like a couple of months. At the end of the season, we pluck them all out and put them in the fridge.